All right, welcome back to the channel. So, a lot of speculation about how Errol Spence Jr. is going to perform in the fight against Danny Garcia, but many people believe that Errol Spence Jr. looks stronger now than he did before the Sean Porter, and I'm one of those people, along with some other ones. And also, we're going to talk about what Tim Bradley had to say about the fight, and pretty much saying it's going to be really rough on Danny Garcia, dude, because Danny Garcia is tailor-made. Do not count on that left hook, that no-look left hook saving him. But that's what we're going to talk about in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So, really good fight, December 5th coming up in Dallas, Texas. I will be there, so if you guys are at the fight, if you're near the floor or wherever, hey, man, hit me up on IG or whatever. Hopefully, we'll be able to catch up and say what's up to each other during the fight in Dallas. But Danny Garcia is a 7-1, my understanding is a 7-1 underdog against Errol Spence Jr. And from the looks of the workouts that they had a couple days ago, I think that those odds are about right. And that is despite the fact that Errol Spence Jr. has had a 14-month layoff, and also he has had coming off of a very, very serious car accident, which he was very lucky to get out of there relatively unscathed, and to get back into the boxing and get back in boxing and continue his career. But in this video, we're going to talk about the fact that, dude, he really does look stronger. Also, we're going to talk about what Tim Bradley had to say as far as a technique standpoint in the fight. And then, we'll look a little bit further, man, to see what's going to happen, how I think this fight is going to play out. So first things first, I went and sat down in a sparring session for Errol Spence Jr. when he fought Sean Porter. Drove down to Dallas, met Errol Sr., met Derek James, met Errol Spence Jr., saw the sparring partner, sat there, for maybe a few hours. And then, and my thought in that was, I was just really, really happy to be there. And it looked to me that particular day that Errol Spence Jr. looked a little tired, right? Like, because he was going through the sparring session. I won't talk about what happened in the sparring session, but just to say, oh, man, he looked a little bit tired. You could tell when he was leaving. He left from the sparring session and he sat down. You could tell that he just really looked kind of drained, man, just kind of tired. And you could tell that he looked hungry, right? Just not in the best frame of mind. And then when I looked at him fight, or in the same gym, this is the same gym that I sat in, is the one that you saw the media workout in. And the way that his body looked was significantly different, man. And usually, when you see somebody on TV versus when you see them in person, the people in person look more cut up to me. Like, I'm often more impressed by like when you walk up and see, like I see Scottie Pippen back in the day in Chicago. Scottie Pippen used to be a basketball player for the Chicago Bulls. And when you would see him on TV, he looked like this tall, skinny guy. But when you saw him in person, he looked like a tall, thin guy, but with a ton of muscle on top of the guy, right? And he looked much stronger, much more fit when you saw him in person. So to see the camera, the way that Errol Spence looked on the camera versus how I remember him with my eye, he looked better on camera. He looked significantly better in this workout than he did when I saw him. Now, the obvious reason for that is the explanations that he gave. And I think a lot of it obviously has to do with the car accident. The car accident was over a year ago. It was a year ago in October, right? It was only wasn't too long, maybe a month after he fought Keith Thurman. So, excuse me, not Keith Thurman, Sean Porter. And then he went right in, then he had that car accident, right? So he said that from October, the time of the car accident, he couldn't work out. I think he said he started in February. But in February, he's been going hard since February. And this is making me think that this thing is probably going to be a blowout for Errol Spence Jr., man. The way that he looked, and then the way that Derek James described how he trained was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Now, what Derek James said is that, he believes that Errol Spence Errol Spence is stronger, looks much better in this sparring camp than he's looked in several sparring camps, in other training camps, right? And he said that the reason is because they've been training for a much longer period of time. When they, like, if you listen to what Errol Spence Jr. was saying about how he was training and the gradual decline in his work ethic, he, from the time where he was looking to fight Kell Brook and he got Kell Brook, where he's training every day, even after a fight, he might take off a week or two, but then he's right back in training. So pretty much he's like in year-round training, right? And that's when you saw Errol Spence Jr.'s, muscles bulging, veiny, just, being really aggressive and getting guys out of there. Dude, when I saw this dude hitting the pad again, just like looking at him hitting the and I know the bag doesn't hit back. That's ultimately going to be the big challenge is if that when the bag starts hitting back. But just the look of it, he looked much stronger. And I think that he's going to put on a way better performance and be a much stronger fighter than he was against Mikey Garcia or against Sean Porter going into this Danny Garcia fight. And then when you add that to what Tim Bradley had to say in breaking down the fight, and Andre Ward too, they were like, look, man, there's, if there's nothing wrong with Errol Spence Jr. from this from his accident, if he's fully recovered, dude, this guy more than likely is gonna run through Danny Garcia. Tim Bradley saying he's tailor-made, and I kind of see that because first, Danny Garcia does hit hard. He is a strong, but he's hard. He hits hard because he commits to his punches. I don't think he's somebody that is just like every shot that he throws is going to hurt you, right? But it's more like, especially with that left hook, he may be looking over this way, but he lets that go with full force, lets everything into it, right? But the closer if Errol Spence Jr. is at range, that left hook I don't believe that left hook is gonna land. I know a lot of people showed the highlights or the right hook. No, the left hook. There are a lot of people showing, where Errol Spence Jr. is getting hit by that shot with Sean Porter. But again, dude, that's Sean Porter. And Sean Porter has much better hand speed. Errol Spence literally has every advantage over Danny Garcia, and he doesn't have all those physical advantages over Sean Porter. So hand speed, big advantage for Errol Spence Jr. over Danny Garcia. Yeah, they're about what and what with Sean Porter, right? Power, big advantage with Errol Spence Jr. and Danny Garcia. They're about the same with Sean Porter. But that whole, like, the ability to fight on the inside versus fight on the back foot, Danny Garcia just doesn't have that, right? So if Errol Spence Jr. is boxing him and just decides to go up 6-7 rounds because he's just going to outscore him, jab him to the body, jab him up top, then follow with, I love that jab. I love his jab to the body, straight left up top. Just keep wearing him out with that combo until he's broken down and then gradually start pushing him, right? That's how I kind of see him do it. Or Errol can do what Andre Ward said, which is just get really close in on him. And when you're close to somebody like that, then the likelihood of getting hit with that hook and all that stuff, it's that much less of a chance, for you, to be hit like that. So, man, all in all, I think this is going to be a good fight. I agree. I think Errol Spence Jr. is going to win on unanimous decision. And, because I think he's going to be a little bit more careful in the middle rounds. And I just see Danny Garcia at the end trying to play catch up. But when he starts trying to walk Errol Spence Jr. down, if Errol, dips inside of that and starts going to him, dude, I just don't see it, man. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think. Does Errol Spence Jr. look stronger now than he did before? Do you think Danny Garcia is tailor-made for him? Is Tim Bradley right? Let me know in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.